Okay, well, good afternoon or late afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And first, I want to start by thanking everyone who had a hand in making this talk happen. Generally speaking, the marketing and advancement folks and Ryan, who just kind of signed off a second ago. Specifically, Cliff Burnett. I don't know if he's here today. He's one of our MBA advisory board members who introduced me to Kirsten, and what a great introduction it was, and you will soon see why. And too many other names to name, and of course, not the least of which is our esteemed speaker here today, Kristen Settle. Just a quick plug for our SVM speaker series before we begin. This is the third installment of a series of events that SVM is hosting as a form of outreach to our esteemed stakeholders. That's mostly alumni, but also students, faculty, donors, the local business community, and others, through a series of talks, panels, and networking events that we use to showcase our school's emphasis on thought leadership and cutting edge business practices. The other goal, of course, with these events is to keep you connected to SBM and NDNU and to involve you in whatever ways your time and desires allow. So we're aiming to have about something on the order of 4 to 6 of these a year, depending on how many speakers we have and how many topics make sense. And our next event will probably be sometime in the May to June timeframe, maybe even sooner. So please come to as many events as you'd like to. Invite other people, pass along the invitation to anybody you think might be interested. And if you have ideas for topics or speakers, or you want to speak yourself, someone who might want to be a speaker and they're an expert in their field, or you just have an idea for an event, get in touch with us. And I'm going to drop the speaker series webpage address in the chat in just a second. You can link to that and drop us some ideas at your convenience. Okay, now on to our speaker for today. We are fortunate to have with us Kirsten Settle, who is widely recognized as one of the most influential recruiters in Silicon Valley, specializing in retained executive searches for top-tier finance, go-to-market, and engineering talent, as well as CEO and board positions for global public venture organizations. Kirsten has built a strong reputation for her deep expertise in technology leadership. She's frequently sought after for interviews and speaking engagements like ours today. She provides invaluable insights into the ever-evolving business landscape here in Silicon Valley and beyond, and her contributions to the industry have made her a trusted voice for organizations navigating the vast complexities of executive talent acquisition. And by the way, I didn't take Kirsten's marketing for granted. I asked around, and people knew of her. So she's a big deal, and we're lucky to have her with us today. And I'm going to shut up and let her talk. So welcome, Kirsten.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. That's very nice of you. And I appreciate the introduction and the honor to be working with NDNU. It's a very highly esteemed and respected university in the Bay. And so glad to be helpful, but let's get into it, shall we? I will pull up the presentation and we can just go. Okay. Well, thank you. You gave a really great introduction, so I don't have to do too much of that. But like he said, Lonergan Partners, we've been doing executive recruiting for technology here in Silicon Valley since 2001. And mostly we're known for our CEO and board work, both public and private, but I also do a lot of heads of finance, heads of go-to-market, and heads of engineering. I've been with the firm for about 6 years, actually, almost to the date the other week. I joined right out of university from Western Michigan University. I myself have conducted probably about 75 to 100 independent executive searches as a firm. We've done hundreds, if not thousands, and so built up companies all over the world, from early stage to high growth public companies. And so I am also the incoming successor to our founder, Mark Lonergan, along with my soon-to-be co-managing partner, Michael Cunningham, who runs our new Austin office. So I'm here in Silicon Valley, right around the corner, off Cal Camino, but we also have presence in Austin. So a little bit about our firm and a little bit about me. So intentions, on the screen is a few quotes about career from a lot of, from several folks that a lot of people respect. I'm a big yogi, and something that one of the instructors taught me is to take what serves you in life and leave what doesn't. And I hope to do that for you today in this presentation too. Take what serves you and leave what doesn't. I'm not claiming to have the perfect answer for everything on how to build career. All I'm giving you is my everyday, learnings and knowledge and perspective from helping building companies and working with founders and CEOs and boards all over the world. I believe that these advice is applicable whether you're a fresh grad looking to get your first job out of school, all the way to, veteran CEOs and board members who maybe are just looking for a mid-career transition, or maybe even looking to retire and considering an objective like that. So all industries, all different types of levels and folks. I think my goal is to empower people through career and infuse companies with great leaders. And it's very powerful to love your work. It's very, I think, healing, and to be passionate about what you do every day, no matter what that is. I think it's, oversees any money and no any title, any glory. And so hopefully I can help inspire that in all you folks listening today. So in today's session, a few different things, strategies, some higher level strategies to think about advancing, some key insights to the world of executive search. I had never even known that executive recruiting or recruiting in general was a thing until I got into the industry and met Mark Lonergan. A lot of recruiters kind of fall into it, and I was no exception. And so give you insights around that, maybe some common misconceptions that I hear a lot about maybe career or just generally speaking, and then some actionable next steps, things that you can do tomorrow to take a proactive approach to building your career or thinking about, your career journey, if that's something where you're at in life right now. Let's get into it. So, key strategies for career growth. Let me start by saying, let's take a lean in mentality. I am a huge fan of Sheryl Sandberg, and I think everybody should read her book, Lean In, if not follow her Lean In philosophy. It essentially is an active pursuit of leadership mentality and to take charge of your career. It's especially tailored towards women, but I like to say that it's tailored towards everybody. And it means to get in there and use your talents to solve problems. We are all talented in different ways. We are all built differently. There is not one size fits all to business. And that's something I'm really grateful that I learned early on, that there is not one right way to career or to have a job, or, there's just not. And so really take your natural born passions and what excites you and use that to really leverage yourself and lean in and help to grow and develop whatever, business or corporation or however that your nonprofit association, however you're spending your time. And so, fortune favors the bold, and there are no shortcuts. There is not. And I wish there were, but there is not. It takes hard work, commitment, dedication, and I think consistency and doing good work. And so embrace risks and seek challenges is also in that first bullet. Companies do not hire people without a need. Typically, they don't hire if everything is going smoothly and all up and to the right, unless it is a situation where somebody needs to come in to keep spinning the wheels because somebody else left, which is a rare situation. But the point is, another philosopher, I guess business philosopher you could say, I really enjoy is Jim Collins. And so something that I really advise is, seek a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, and be the solution for that. You are indispensable when you are considered a solution-oriented person. When you're the person that can fix things, solve things, get things done, you are indispensable. And I think truly the landscape of career and job opportunity is, the world is your oyster in that regard. And when you're not known as the solution, I can't say it's the same. And so I think that's really important. And so, another thing, bullet 2, elevate your presence through high level thought leadership and networking. We are taught, and it's a common business, skill I hear, lean on your network. We hear about it all the time. If you need something, who's in your network? I get it. I think that's important. And I really think it's important to, continue developing and growing the folks that already know you and staying close with those people. But I think the part of that everybody misses is how to expand your network actively every day. And the point of that is that the people that know you hopefully will always bring you to the table. And the point is to be able to get as many people as possible bringing you to the table and vouching for you and advocating for you and seeing you again as a solution-oriented business person that they need on their team. And when you're able to constantly expand who knows you, it doesn't limit you to only have to rely on the folks that do. And it takes a lot of work. And we're going to go through, in a few slides in about how to go about doing that, a really proactive approach to career. But, high level networking with decision makers and thought leadership. To me, thought leadership is marketing, it's branding, it's doing blogs. People do vlogs with a V. People do interviews, panels, media, I've podcasts. There's almost a different type of media outlet every single day. Find what you find fun, change it up a bit, and create almost a cadence for yourself once a week, once a month, once a quarter, whatever makes sense, to be able to give the market your brand consistently that helps position you in your industry. And so for me, obviously, as a owner of a firm and an executive recruiter in the Valley, it's really important to, I think, give marketing message around what our firm is up to, or market analysis, just regular cadence, so that folks, even if you're not talking to individuals every day, are able to see what you're up to and what your market insights are. And slowly but surely, you will create a brand for yourself around being a thought leader in your industry, whatever industry that is. And so between the high level networking, getting yourself in front of folks that don't know you in positions of power, for me, that means board members, CEOs, heads of HR, heads of investors, managing partners, folks that can make things happen. And so I think that's really important. Take a proactive, intentional approach to creating opportunities. We're going to get more into that in just a few minutes, like I had mentioned. And conducting market research to stay informed. This is a big one. When we're in a job, we often get really honed down in it. An ABC company, and all we do every day is 20 hours of ABC company, and maybe you're there for 5 years. And so I feel that people tend to get very kind of pigeonholed, or at least just, silo-minded into their job or their company, their role. And very rarely do we step back and vet in what is the market doing? Who are my common day competitors? What are brand new companies in my space that are popping up that I maybe hadn't heard of before? What companies just got a round of maybe venture capital? What companies just got bought? Educating ourselves on a regular basis around what's happening in our markets, it allows us to have an expansive view, not only on what we do every day, but on the business ecosystem as a whole. It helps if the time comes that you want to move on. You're able to keep yourself updated. And, sometimes we call folks that have been in one place forever lifers. And there's sometimes a negative connotation to that. But to, I think, maybe help distract from long tenures, it's important to be educated around what's happening in our markets and what's happening in the global economy. And so I really, in fifth bullet, sorry, build relationships through face-to-face meetings and ongoing interactions. You know, I'm going to go into a little bit about resumes and all that stuff later, but my boss always says, and this is true, people do business with people they want to do business with. It is as simple as that. And it is never a piece of paper or a resume or even a warm introduction that gets people opportunity. It's looking someone in the eye and being able to define your value and why you're passionate about their mission or your mission, and finding co-alignment through that creates opportunity and interaction with people, because you want to go to a job you love. And most of the time that comes from passion and alignment with the mission. And what are we working towards every day? And it's impossible to know that unless you are spending one-on-one quality, you know, professional time with the leaders in the companies that you're looking to join, quite frankly. And so a thing about that also is, you know, we talked about time, consistency, and brand awareness. I really believe those are extremely powerful tools. And then the other half is just doing good work, being the solution, and being consistent in the way you deliver your product or services, whatever industry you represent. One thing that's not on the screen that I implore y'all to consider is to be very serious about cleaning up your digital footprint. I personally have no social other than LinkedIn. And that is because I don't want anything distracting from the brand of, you know, Kirsten Settle, Silicon Valley executive recruiter, that, you know, Jordan was so kind to point out, and maybe why I'm here talking today. There is no, I hate to break it to everybody, but there is no separation when it comes to reputation between your personal and your professional life. And, you know, I wish it wasn't true, but I'm here to say what you do in your personal life will trickle over and is a reflection of you in your professional life. And this world is so interconnected, and media is so, you know, progress in the way that we're able to see the data of everyone's life, that you cannot hide it. And so the private setting on Instagram, you know, or whatever it is, yeah, I'm just here to tell you, you know, anything that you have out there, if you don't want someone professionally seeing it, clean it up, take it down, you know, and maybe that might take a little time. And so, but I really implore that for you guys. And the last one, you know, leverage references and champions. And another thing that's on there to, you know, finish off this slide is say yes. Say yes. You know, I'm not saying yes, take every job that comes your way, but, you know, take exploratory meetings at least. I cannot tell you how many times I call folks, you know, in big public companies about a CFO opportunity, for example, and how many people say, no, I'm not willing to take an exploratory meeting with the CEO because, you know, of XYZ excuse. And most of the time when you get to it, it's an excuse of they're afraid, or there's anxiety, or there's the comfortability factor, or they think they're not good enough. And I cannot tell you, almost 100% of the time, do those people that tell me no, 2 months later, they come back to me and say, is that position still available? And it most of the time never is, because the opportunity, it comes and it goes quickly. And, you know, those people always kick themselves saying, I wish I would have just gotten out of my own way and just taken the exploratory meeting. I've never lost money putting smart people together, just to meet. And so I wish more people would say no less. You know, the only thing that our job is to be the catalyst for interaction. And it's, you never know what can come up from meeting someone that's smart, a business person, a like-minded, what you can learn from even, or what you can teach them. And so if somebody calls you with an opportunity that scares you, you know, there's two different kinds of anxieties. There's a bad anxiety, and then there's a, that seems scary but exciting anxiety. Chase that. Please chase it, because you will regret it. And these things, you know, there's only a very handful of people in this world that can sit back on the couch and have the phone ring for them off the hook for CEO opportunities, boards, whatever they want. 99% of the world needs to be proactive about it. And so when you're amongst the lions, you'll slowly become one. And that's why I think it's really important to attend in-person events and do the thought leadership things and be proactive and really leverage, once you're able to convert these new connections to, you know, confidants and champions, people that are willing to speak on your behalf and take a reference call for you, or maybe they're in a meeting and the need comes up and they're the ones that bring you to the table. Oh, hey, from my example, you know, oh, board member, oh, we need a new CEO, and, you know, a champion, oh, you know, Lonergan Partners. And you can never have enough people rooting for you, and you can never have enough of your intentions in the back of people's minds. And, you know, and so really leverage your references and champions, but be protective of them. You know, don't ask for too many favors. I really think that you kind of get one favor a year with people. And so really use that sparingly, and protect them. If they're willing to go put their reputation on the line to vouch for you, you know, I just think take a really protective approach to that relationship and to that person, and be willing to say thank you sincerely, and be willing to do favors back for them and not expect anything in return, I think is really important. And so few things about key strategies for career and growth, just to start us off. Okay. Executive search, a historically secret industry. It's so funny when I say, tell people I do CEO search, I'm executive recruiter. You know, again, most people don't know what it is. People hear recruiters, and recruiters have a connotation like a lawyer or a doctor. There's many different kinds, and there's many different models, and you never really know exactly specifically what you need, perhaps if you're not, you know, a veteran client or a veteran service provider in the market. And so, but a little fun history fact, recruiters have actually been building companies, at least in North America, since honestly the early 1900s, since the Second Industrial Revolution. It really sparked through the auto boom. You know, all these companies were starting to pop up, and they didn't have enough people to be able to run them. And so if you recognize names like Gardner Heydrich and John Struggles from Heydrich and Struggles, they were some of the original pioneers. They founded their firm in the 50s, actually, to really pioneer and expand the executive search business. And actually they're one of the most prestigious public company executive search firms. We have a lot of respect for them, as again, our founder was one of the ones that built their Silicon Valley practice in the 90s and then started our firm in 2001. And so I like to consider Mark Lonergan amongst you know, legendary executive recruiters in history as well. But as we had said, there are a lot of recruiters out there, and it's hard to navigate, I think, which ones to really lean into and which ones to maybe avoid. You know, asking questions like, you know, what is the recruiter's role in the opportunity they're calling you about? Are they retained? Are they the only firm working on it? You know, how long have they been working on it? You're allowed to ask those questions. If they're calling you, I mean, I'm very forthcoming about those things. And if the recruiter representing something is not, it might be something you want to maybe dig into a little more, just to make sure you're being cautious of your time and due diligence, which is a point I get to more than once in this talk about due diligence. And so, but, you know, LinkedIn is one of the most arguably powerful business tools, I believe, in our generation. It is the forefront of not only your professional brand, but also the forefront for connecting to a global expansive network and finding opportunity through it. And I'm not exactly talking about the like job postings that LinkedIn does, which I know is a really fantastic way to explore opportunity, but I'm more so talking about it as a tool to have people be able to proactively find you and being able to position yourself as a thought leader. So when opportunities come up that maybe an executive recruiter are working on in your industry, if they don't know you already, when you are listed as a thought leader in different medias and LinkedIn, and you're connected with really substantial and reputable companies, it helps. It helps for you to be identified, and it helps for you to be brought to the table to, explore that opportunity maybe in a way you would have never had before. And so take LinkedIn seriously, keep your photo and your information, your contact information, and your background, your professional information updated. Don't have your home address on there. I always laugh when people do it. There is a border of, you want to keep yourself safe, but in my experience, LinkedIn, I think, is becoming almost more powerful than the resume, and you want to treat it like that. And so, consider, if you're not already using LinkedIn on a regular basis, maybe you should consider that. But best practices for candidates in their recruitment process. So let's say, a recruiter called you an executive recruiter, and now you're a candidate in a search. Few things to consider in that relationship and that dynamic. Be responsive. I think if a recruiter, whether it's a firm like mine or even a company's internal recruiting efforts, contact you, even if it's a polite no is just fine. Hey, thanks, no thanks. I constantly am, oh, hey, no problem on this, but I'll, contact them again a year later with another thing. And maybe that's the thing that's interesting to them. What I don't do, though, is come back to people, and this is a very super rare situation, but there are some people who can be very rude. And I'm not exactly trying to ring their phone again. If the first time I did, I felt extremely disrespected when I was just trying to call them about a very interesting high-level opportunity, And so I know there's a lot of spam calls out there nowadays. My phone blows up like 20 times an hour. But, if a recruiter calls you, give them grace and be patient and hear them out. And then if it's not something you're interested in, politely decline. Anything else, you'll never hear from them again if it's not done with grace. And I think you want to give them a positive impression, because honestly, they're reporting back to the company every interaction they have with the market as well. And it's crazy, the ripple effect, at least here in the Valley, but I know honestly in the global world that one interaction with one person can have, and how that might affect the way people think about you with others that weren't even in that situation. And so being polite, being ethical, be open-minded. And if it's not something you're interested in, sharing leads or insights. Oftentimes people say, hey, I'm not interested in this, but maybe consider, XYZ. I used to work with this colleague, very confidentially, and it's always very helpful. Or not interested, but here's some insights, or some feedback about that market or that company. And just being able to have a high level professional dialogue, as a thought leader and as a colleague with folks, it's helpful for both the search firm, and it's just a fun educational professional experience. And so, but the last thing on that is you must be discreet, more than, this happens sometimes where folks get really excited that they were called about a thing, and then they're at a party that night, and then, they tell everybody on their golf league or something that they got a call about XYZ. And again, very small worldness, it comes back, and now that person is, forever known as the blabbermouth who can't be discreet and confidential about really serious stuff. sometimes there's even like legal repercussions to that kinds of stuff. And so if somebody calls you about a professional opportunity, even if they don't say this is very confidential, keep it to yourself, because I get people get excited, but it doesn't go well if you let every single person know about it in your network that you got a call. So just by the way on that. And then the last point, compensation and mastering negotiations. I went to a really great continuing studies class about this recently. And so no matter where you are in career, I think it's important to constantly touch up your skills and learnings and business philosophies around things like compensation and negotiations. Let me just say it's a give and take dynamic. My boss would say the role of the compensation negotiation is to make both parties equally, unhappy. I would say happy, but the goal is to have, minds meet in the middle. Consider also the opportunity at hand versus the short-term financial gain. I've recruited several high-level executives out of huge multi-billion-dollar public companies whom stock was at, 3 figures a share, and they left roles like that to be able to join some of the hottest high growth startups as heads of finance, heads of engineering, even CEOs. In those cases, they left behind hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, honestly, on the table to be able to become, to be able to take opportunity and build in a high growth startup or just and maybe in a smaller company. And so consider the opportunity. Am I somewhere safe in the same job, but making a lot of money 20 years? Do I want to keep doing that? Or do I want to grow and maybe see something build and have a lot more of an impact, maybe even run the whole thing and get opportunity that you wouldn't in that other scenario, but perhaps take a little bit less cash up front and be able to see this play out in the long term. And so I know it's a complicated dynamic, and the job of a recruiter, by the way, is to set those expectations about what the company can and cannot do on a compensation level at the beginning. And it is a severe, it is just a severe injustice for everybody involved. If you get to the end of opportunity, all the interviews and all that, to get to the end to realize that the compensation expectation doesn't line up and it all falls apart. That's just a shame. And so make sure you're having those conversations with your recruiter or with the company at the beginning so that going into it, this is how much they can go. So you're just factoring it in. And so it's also different compensation, public versus private companies, where you live in the world, what stage the company's at, what market it's in. However, there are a lot of very significant reports, compensias, etc., that will help, educate folks about what colleagues in similar markets, company sizes, levels of seniority, etc., are getting paid. More so, less to use as a leverage, more to serve to educate yourself. If perhaps you don't have a recruiter helping you to, if you don't know those data points going into conversations like that already. Last couple things on that. Seek legal counsel. Honestly, it's good to have a lawyer to help review things like contracts. And if you're a CEO or a board member or a chairman or an investor, it's good to have counsel help with due diligence nowadays. And that's like the 4th time I've said due diligence, and I'm going to keep saying it because it is more important now than ever. I really believe that. And so you just want to make sure that you know exactly what you're going into. It's the recruiter's job to eliminate all surprises. You don't want to get into something and then 3 months later, this was not what I expected at all, and you left your job for that, it's not good for anybody. So little surprises as possible. But the last thing I'll say is Do not use a letter or a compensation letter offer as leverage for the job you're in now to get more money. I'm telling you, it never works. And that is the quickest way to burn bridges with every single person that was involved in that. People do it a little bit more often than what's palatable, but it's definitely not a practice that I suggest. It just never goes well. And so, but that's on executive search and things to consider if you're a candidate in a process, or if you are ever considering partnering with a firm like mine, or other firms, or even their own internal companies' internal recruitment process. Okay. So clearing up common misconceptions, and I'm being mindful about time, so we're going to go through this a little bit quick. Resumes and bios, I'm here to tell you, they look at it for a total of 5 to 10 seconds. Have data only. Cut the adjectives, cut the verbs. Things that companies and leaders want to know about is data. What is that data? Team size, revenue, product, technology, reporting structure, growth metrics, and having it in a very clean cut, almost bullet point, where a chairperson or a head of HR or whoever the hiring person is can look at it for 5 to 10 seconds, know exactly what you're about, and that's all that they're going to give your resume. And I feel really bad saying that, because I know people spend a lot of time, energy, and money on resumes and board bios. Keep it simple. Don't worry about aesthetics. Data, that's what you need. And so, and now, companies use recruiters also less than half the time. I wish it was 100% of the time. It'd be a lot better for my business, but it's true. Half of the time, two smart people meet each other and they figure out a way to work together. And sometimes it is in the most, crazy random scenarios that neither of those people would have ever guessed. But when you find somebody that you're like, you're a genius in your own right, and I really want to work with you, and let's find a way, people will find a way. And I promise you that is applicable from the top public companies in the world all the way down to the, two people in a garage, starting a company out of school sort of thing. And so that's why taking a proactive approach is really important. Business cards, have them. I have never met a CEO that didn't have a business card, and I do not believe that they are a thing of the past. They are not old school. I constantly, they're very inexpensive to have. They don't need to be very fancy to have your name, your brand, your company, your contact information, and to be able to leave people with a tangible thing that they can put their hands on. Yes, maybe they'll put it in the desk with all of their other business cards, but in that moment, they have, tangible thing to represent you. The QR code, I'm just not a fan. And I have been in multiple scenarios where it's 6, 7, 8 CEOs and myself, and we're all exchanging cards. And then it's like one person's like, oh, scan my QR code. And everyone's like, oh, clearly not a real executive. And so, I'm sure that's something that people disagree with. I'm just saying, I have never met a CEO that didn't have a business card. And I think it's a very cheap investment that's actually extremely important. So, tenure, it matters. And the amount of time you spend in places and the amount of jobs you have in your career matters. And I have witnessed hiring managers, observe, oh, this person has had 7 jobs, 7 different companies in the past 10 years, not interested. We're looking for someone to be committed and to be here and grow. And particularly at an executive level, you can't make impact in 12 months unless it's a very specific type of scenario. But be mindful about tenure. And it goes to show, be mindful about the jobs you take, especially any young people out there that are looking to have their first job out of school. People really throw that step away, like, oh, you just get another job, just your first job out of school. I could not disagree more. It is the foundation to how you will career your entire life. and it is the foundation to how you want to express your time, energy, and passion, and particularly if you just got out of school. And so take it seriously, because being happy and having, 40 jobs by the time you're done, I think it just doesn't always land very well. And so a few other things: virtual, living where you work. I know that's a really hot topic. Again, I'm gonna say something that people will probably disagree with. The in-person work is not dead, and it never will be. And especially if you're a young person coming out of school, or a new executive joining a company, or you're helping take your company through a pretty big growth phase or transformation or anything, or you honestly just want to maintain a positive culture, everything's going right, you just want to keep it going right. In-person interaction on a regular basis with your people on both sides, it remains important. And I have witnessed CEO candidates be passed up in favor of the candidate that said, yes, I will move to that place and I will show up every day, as opposed to the commuter, executive. So it is what it is. Just what I see. Same with, attending and hosting professional events. Jordan at the beginning of this said, anybody that wants to do a speaking engagement, it's super important to get yourself out there and to go to professional engagements. And if no one's having anything in your area or in your field, host one. It's a super easy way to get introduce yourself to people and expand your brand and to get folks together. And people love being invited to stuff, even if they can't make it. Even the most important executives in the world love being invited to stuff. And so it's a really, really good way to get yourself out there and to have a little fun while you're doing it. Hang out with people. That's what we do every day anyways. And so following up, board service, due diligence, always follow up with people. Shockingly, folks have said to me oh, Kristen, I'm so I'm glad you followed up. Most people don't. And that just shocked me. Why would you not? If you have a good thing going with somebody, why would you not come back to them and let them know, hey, I'm interested in working together? Why would you let opportunity go to waste like that? And then board service, I could do a whole talk. I do actually talks on board service. I think it's an interesting thing nowadays. I don't think it's the end all be all to career. I think it's a lot more time consuming than people believe. And I believe it's actually a lot harder than what people have the perception of about board service. And so if you want to talk about that, happy to engage individually. Maybe you're looking to join a board or want to navigate. I'll give you some things to think about maybe before you commit to that. And then due diligence. The market has been crazy, for lack of a better word, over the past few years. And companies have gotten multi-billion-dollar valuations off of a PowerPoint slide. How many folks do you know that have joined a company and 6 months in, they're out of there because it was not what they expected? And honestly, in those situations, a lot of fingers get pointed. The recruiter's to blame, the board's to blame, everyone's to blame. But I always say, what did you do to prevent the surprise, and how much due diligence did you conduct? Honestly, particularly for incoming CEOs or executives or anybody, all you got to do is ask the question, can I see proof point of things like cap table or customer references, or, just proof points of documents that identify the business's health is really all you have to ask with the folks you're interacting with in the interview process. The answer they give you to the ask is all you need to know. If they're forthcoming, green flag. Why do you need that? Oh, trust us. All the other things, red flag. And there's a reason. And I wouldn't say what I'm saying if it's a pattern, and it happens so often. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows at least one person that got into something and they jutted out there because it was not what they expected. And so due diligence is vital for everyone. Okay, we're gonna finish off these last things quickly. So, but the most important part, proactive steps to define your next role. So we just talked in philosophy around different strategies and mindsets and techniques that you can take to really empower yourself on a personal level when you're considering this. But what is actual things that you can do tomorrow? So I tell this to a lot of people. And again, take what serves you, leave what doesn't. But let's say you're considering your next role. Take a moment to identify, in a perfect world, our magic cauldron, we could formulate that right now. What would that be? What would the industry be? What size company? What's the location? Is it public or private? What do I want to do? Who do I want to report to? What's the mission? Come up with those answers on your own. And it may not be solid, black and white. I know these, but it'll help generally guide you, because there's a lot of companies in this world. It'll help generally guide you to where you should be spending your time. It also helps define what you don't want to do. And that's equally as important. So once you have that, conduct market research. Back to the market research thing. What are 25 companies, maybe half public, half private, half, 25, maybe even 50 companies that at least a little bit fit my idea of what perfect could be? And I really implore you to find companies that you had never heard of before, or just not the obvious ones that come to mind. What are some new companies? Just expand your horizons in the possibilities. And then once you have your 25 targets, maybe you know somebody in some of them, maybe you don't know anything about them, just 25 companies. The next thing you do, what's that 25, 50, is pinpoint your decision maker in the company. And that might be your CEO, that might be your chairman or chairperson, that might be your head of HR, that might be your CMO if you're in talent, that might be the CTO, a head of engineering if you're an engineer. No matter where you are in seniority, from a fresh grad to a veteran professional, focus on the top. Focus on the most senior folks in the organization. They will help guide you to the appropriate people, but go to the decision makers. And it's easier to go to the top and work your way down than it is to do it the other way. And so what are the companies? Who are my target folks? And maybe there's several target folks in the companies. That's okay too. And then the next thing is find a way to get in front of them. For me, that looks like I'll send them a LinkedIn invite so they can see that I'm a credible, executive recruiter. They can see my background, all that good stuff, know what I look like. And then I send them a, professional email once they accept that with, thanks for accepting. This is who I am. I noticed your company for XYZ reasons. This is what I do. Wanted to extend my hand, thought it might be good for us to know each other as acquaintances in the market, and maybe perhaps I could be helpful. You won't get 100% response rate, but you don't need 100. You need just one. You need one, and then you can build from that later. But the point is, when you come at it out of a place of equivalence and professionalism and looking to help, not, hey, hire me, I need a job right now. People are more than willing to also shake hands and expand their network and learn about how you might be able to help. And again, it's not about getting 100% people saying, yes, I want to meet you. It's just you need one that day, and you want to meet them in person so you can really communicate and have the effect of your amazing, aura being person spirit, and that they can really take away who you are in essence from that interaction and how you could possibly fit in their organization. That takes about 6 months if you do it right. And honestly, any opportunity you're looking at, the due diligence process takes about 6 months from start to finish. Whether you're in a firm like mine, like a firm's process like mine, or you're doing it on your own, due diligence takes time, and getting a job from start to finish takes time. And so while you're waiting for recruiters like me to call you and maybe identifying listings online or however, taking a proactive approach I think just gives folks more autonomy in their career and in the market than what they realize they have. A lot of people, we're just taught to sit back, and if it comes to us, then okay. But what we don't realize is that more often than not, we can create the opportunity for ourselves. And maybe that's even looks like a brand new role that the company had never even considered before. But you are so invaluable that they need you on their team right now, and they'll come up with whatever title, whatever you want to get you plugged in. And so I have this conversation with folks individually a lot, and it's really exciting to me when they come back 4 or 5, 6 months later and they got a gig and they are in a job they're happy about. And they felt that they really were able to see the market and had a lot of options, and they had power over what they could do next, as opposed to, being victim to the market, particularly in a bad economy like we've all experienced these past few years, and all the media around layoffs and stuff like that. And so if that helps, proactivity, we have power to define our own futures, even in career. And so, but it takes a lot of hard work, and you'll probably get 99 no's, but your 100th will be a yes. And you'll be so grateful that those others said 99 no's, but you will have learned so much, and you will really have so much autonomy and power and knowledge around what's out there. And then that you've chosen the best thing for you, and that you can be in that thing for 5 to 7 years in the future, or however that looks like to you. And so, I actually quoted this. I didn't want to put myself, but seek a career that brings fulfillment. Always choose passion and happiness over the pursuit of money. The check high runs out very quickly, and no amount of money, if I only make X amount of more, then all my problems are solved. That's just not how it works. And when you are happy and you are leading with your job with passion and excitement every day, the money takes care of itself. I really do promise that. And so always seek fulfillment and passion and happiness. It's not about money. It's really not. And so thank you. I know we want to do some questions. I think Jordan is going to help me with the chat box to see if anybody has anything they want to say or question or comment. But I really do thank you for allowing me to share with you the knowledge, the industry knowledge that I think I take for granted. All this stuff is just my everyday, but if I can empower at least one person to find a career that makes them proud of themselves, and maybe even changes the trajectory for their family's generational wealth, maybe that's one of my purposes in this life. So thank you. Oh, you're muted, Jordan. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. Forgot I had muted. What an awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Kirsten. I wrote down so many things that I wanted to know more about, but I want to give everybody a chance
Yeah.
to ask questions. So please, if you have a question, we can't see you or hear you, but we can see your question. Drop it in the Q&A at the bottom. And I know it's going to take probably a minute or two for people to think of a question and write it and submit it.
I'll stop sharing.
So in the meantime, maybe what I'll do is kick us off.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Let's see. There's 4 questions I want to ask, but I'm going to try to pick my best one here.
Okay.
I guess this is something that I've wanted to know for a long, long time, and that I've actually wanted to research a little bit, never got to it. But you touched on the whole idea of, you get to a position and it's not what you thought it was. And, sometimes the company is to blame for that because they hide things or they distort things. And we all know why that happens. One reason is because, they want you to take the job. They want to get you in there, and they hope it'll work out, but they don't want to, they don't want to reveal everything. Just, no full disclosure. So the dilemma for companies is, you want to be honest, as honest as you can about what the job entails and what headaches you're going to face and what challenges you're going to face. On the other hand, you don't want to turn people away because you undersell the position. So I guess I'm looking for a little bit of wisdom about what, yeah, as a recruiter, what would you advise company? What's the sweet spot of how to deal with that?
The sweet spot, in my opinion, Jordan, is full transparency 100%. And the reason I say that is because the best people chase challenge. And all they want to know is what is the true situation so that I can start wrapping my mind around how I'm going to fix it. Because if I get into something believing it was X and I have now spent 6 months finding out it was Y, that's 6 months wasted. I could have been solving Y the whole time. And again, they never ever change CEOs or anything. They never hire unless something is happening to inspire that hire. And the best folks I've ever worked with are ones that aren't looking for some the wheel spinning, the easy, just this is the, a basic kind of 9 to 5 and there's no excitement in it. They want to help. They want impact. They want to build. They want to grow. And challenge is part of that. It's part of that in the entrepreneur's hustle. And so my number one, be transparent. I understand there's, legals, this around it all. There are ways called NDAs and all that to protect everybody, but you will do your company's reputation, your personal reputation, and everybody else's reputation involved a severe injustice by doing it any other way. They're going to find out the truth, and I've heard the craziest stories, like the FBI was coming after the company, or, indictment, just really intense situations. And the CEO gets in and, the FBI is knocking on their door because something happened with the previous assessor. It's like, you can't, they never told you, it's like, what? So yeah, there is none. It is to be transparent.
Okay, great. Let's see. No questions coming in, so I'll ask my number two. We only have a few more minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Um, I am so more kind of a comment slash question. I mean, one of the themes that ran through your talk today was how important the in person is, whether it's actually working or meeting up with people, even maybe the due diligence phase. Um, and I was kind of surprised, but not surprised to hear that, just because here we are in Silicon Valley, everything's digital.
Here we are virtually right now.
Right,
Yeah.
we're virtual right now. We make our mark as companies.
Yep.
The more we make more money when people are online. Let's put it that way,
Yeah.
than when they're offline. So to hear that, the job world is still very much rooted in the in-person dynamic is surprising. And um, I guess my question, I guess, is you don't see that changing, or has it changed a little bit, or what's your
Oh, it
philosophy?
definitely changed. When COVID, and in what year was it? In 2020, 2021, when remote work was like every event topic, everything, and you couldn't log on without remote work, yada yada yada. No, it extremely swung the other way, extremely. And everyone thought it would last forever. What I'm saying is in the past 18 to 24 months, I have seen that change drastically, even overnight, which is unfair, honestly. Sometimes companies, they allow their people to move wherever, then they say, well, tomorrow you better be here or you don't have a job. That's honestly unjust. But for the most part, when it's if it's an engineering team, or if it's the CEO, or honestly any position of significance, which is a position anybody would want to be in, right? No matter what you do, no matter what level, you would hope that what you're doing every day is significant. I've just seen it swing more towards at least the middle. A lot of the hybrid approach is very much a thing, and I'm not saying it's like you better be there from 8 to 6 Monday through Friday or you're fired. But I am saying in the past 24 months, more and more companies, more and more CEOs, more and more boards are saying, yeah, that was what we did then. This is what we're doing now. And I have seen people be passed up on opportunity because of their location and their unwillingness to change the location, or say, yeah, I'll just recruit, or not recruit, I'll just commute I'll be a commuting CEO from Boston to California. You know, they're like, no, that's not going to happen anymore. And so it's just what I've seen. I'm sure for not every industry, you know, I'm speaking in generalities right now, but I do have to say it's starting to swing more the other way. It's not all or nothing the way it was a few years ago. So
Very great. Okay. Let's see. Anything coming in? We are at time, so I think unless anybody is dropping a question in the Q&A, which I'm not seeing any, that's okay. We will thank Kirsten for being with us for this awesome
yeah,
presentation. And remember again, in the chat is if you want to grab it before you leave, we have Kirsten's LinkedIn. Kirsten's LinkedIn. I mispronounced the name. And we have our speaker series page. Go to it if you have time. Check it out. And I'm going to lobby to get your presentation up on the website.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I happy to send it. You know, anyone who's please do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to find time to shake hands and talk and maybe even continue this conversation one-on-one. Again, you know, we represent companies and we find executives for companies, but where I'm always looking to, you know, shake hands with smart people and learn from, you know, someone, expand our network and be helpful where we can. And so, you know, Lonergan, we're in Menlo Park, you know, if you ever want to say hello, we're here. And thank you, NDNU, for having me. It was a real honor. And we really respect the university and, you know, all the things that you guys have to offer. So let's get more folks enrolled in NDNU and keep the alumni committed. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Everybody, please take advantage of Kirsten's offer. Really, so invaluable. I mean, like you said, that's networking right there. Okay.
Yes.
Very
Well,
good.
thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Really nice to
Okay.
meet you guys.
Bye-bye.